I didn't mean to swipe left, but I did. At the time, it felt like nothing, just another face lost in the endless scroll of strangers. But when he walked into the room that day, standing in front of me as the new teaching assistant for my senior seminar, my stomach dropped as if I'd swallowed stones. Because it was him, the man I'd rejected, Ethan Hayes. His name rolled off the professor's introduction, and my heart clutched like it recognized the sound before my brain did. He wasn't just attractive, he was striking in a way that left the air around him charged. Broad shoulders, confident posture, the kind of man who seemed to carry his own gravity. And now, somehow, he was mine, my mentor, assigned to guide me through the most important research paper of my college career. It was cruel irony, the kind you think only happens in movies or those late-night novels hidden behind library shelves. I wanted to disappear under the desk, but instead I forced a polite nod, praying he didn't recognize me. But the faint smirk tugging at his lips told me otherwise. Our eyes locked, and I knew he remembered. I sank lower in my chair, gripping my pen until the plastic creaked. All I could think about was that night 3 months ago, lying in bed in my dark dorm room, scrolling through profiles until I saw his. Ethan. His photos had been effortless, him on a hiking trail, him laughing with friends, him looking straight into the camera like he could see through the screen and into me. My thumb had hovered for a full minute before I panicked, convincing myself a guy like that could never really want someone like me. Then I swiped left. End of story. Or so I thought. Now here he was, leaning against the desk, scanning the room of students with that calm authority. His eyes brushed past mine but lingered just a second too long, enough to make heat crawl up my neck. I hated that my body betrayed me like this, that my pulse quickened. That part of me wanted his attention, even as shame tangled in my chest. After class, when everyone filed out, I tried to escape, but his voice stopped me. Alex, right? My name in his mouth froze me in place. I turned, notebook clutched like a shield. Yeah, that's me. He tilted his head, studying me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, they held something between amusement and curiosity. You'll be working with me this semester. Looking forward to it. I forced a tight smile. Sure. Sounds good. His lips curved, just slightly, as though he knew exactly how uncomfortable I was. We'll set up our first meeting soon. Don't be late. When I finally stumbled out into the hallway, my breath shook like I'd run a mile. My mind replayed everything, tormenting me with the question I couldn't escape. Did he actually remember me from the app? Or was I imagining it? That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying his smirk, the way his voice had dipped slightly when he said my name. It was infuriating. I told myself I didn't care, that it didn't matter, that he was just another person. But my heart wouldn't listen. And deep down, a quieter truth gnawed at me. Maybe I wanted him to remember. Our first one-on-one meeting was in the library. Late afternoon when the sun bled through the tall windows and painted the wooden tables gold. I sat there waiting, tapping my foot nervously, until he appeared. Casual clothes, sleeves rolled, carrying an air of calm like he belonged in every space he entered. Alex, he greeted, sliding into the chair across from me. Let's talk about your thesis idea. I mumbled something about my research topic, stumbling over words, painfully aware of every glance, every accidental brush of his hand when he passed me papers. He listened intently, nodding, occasionally tilting his head in thought. He wasn't just good-looking. He was sharp, attentive, and every time his eyes locked with mine, Felt like he saw more than I wanted him to. Halfway through, he leaned back, arms crossed, gaze steady. "You're nervous," he said plainly. I swallowed hard. "I'm fine." "No," he said softly, almost kindly. "You're not. You don't need to pretend with me." Something about his words broke through my defenses. I looked down, fingers tightening around my pen. I don't want to mess this up." "You won't," he said, with a certainty that made my chest ache. "You've got more potential than you give yourself credit for." I forced myself to meet his eyes then, and for a moment, everything else, the books, the golden light, the quiet hum of students around us, faded. It was just him and me, and the strange pull I'd been trying so hard to deny. But then he leaned forward, resting his elbow on the table, lowering his voice like a secret. "Besides, I don't hold grudges." The pen slipped from my hand, clattering against the table. My throat went dry. "What?" That smirk again, softer this time. 3 months ago. Dating app. Ring any bells? My entire body went rigid. Heat rushed to my cheeks so fast it burned. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. "Two didn't," he chuckled, low and warm, and shook his head. "Relax. I'm not offended. Happens all the time." His eyes, though, sparkled with something deeper, something teasing. "But I remember faces. And I remembered yours." I buried my face in my hands, groaning. "Oh my God." He leaned closer, and suddenly I could feel the warmth radiating off him. "Hey," he said gently, "don't be embarrassed. Honestly, I'm glad fate brought us back together. In a way, I got a second chance to know you." My heart pounded so loud I swore people across the library could hear it. I forced myself to look up, and what I saw in his expression wasn't mockery. It wasn't pity. It was genuine interest. And that was somehow even scarier. Because for the first time in years, I felt like someone was actually looking at Menet, the mask I wore. Not the quiet kid who blended into the background, but me. And I didn't know if I was ready for what that meant. The weeks that followed felt like walking a tightrope strung between fear and longing. Every meeting with Ethan carried this unbearable tension. Like we were speaking two languages at once. One professional, about research and deadlines, and the other unspoken, brimming with glances that lasted too long, with silences that felt heavier than words. Sometimes I caught him looking at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. Other times, his hand would brush mine as he slid a paper across the table, and I'd feel it like a spark that burned all the way up my arm. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself to focus on my work. But late at night, alone in my dorm, I'd replay every second of those moments until my chest ached. Then came the evening that changed everything. I was in the library again, stacks of books surrounding me like walls, drowning in deadlines. Ethan arrived late, his shirt slightly wrinkled, his hair messy like he'd been running. He dropped his bag beside the chair and exhaled. "Long day," he muttered. Something in me cracked then. He looked tired in a way I hadn't seen before, and I realized I wanted to know him beyond the polished confidence, beyond the mentor role. I wanted the messy, tired, human version too. "You don't have to stay," I said softly. "You look exhausted." He gave me a small smile, tired but genuine. "I want to stay." And then silence. A heavy, fragile silence that pressed down on us. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and the space between us felt thinner than air. "Ethan," I whispered. unsure if I was even allowed to say his name like that. He leaned forward, his voice low. You don't have to keep pretending you don't feel this too. My heart hammered. I shook my head, fear tightening my throat. You're my mentor. People would. I don't care what people think. He cut in, firmer now. What matters is whether you care. About me. I froze, torn between every wall I'd built and the undeniable truth swelling in my chest. I wanted him, not just as some distant crush, not as a secret late-night thought, but here, now, as the man sitting across from me. And before I could stop myself, the words slipped out. I do. It was the bravest and most reckless thing I'd ever said. Ethan's eyes softened, and for the first time, he let the mask drop completely. No smirk, no teasing, just raw emotion. Then let me in. Alex. The world seemed to tilt. My hand moved before my brain caught up, reaching across the table. He met me halfway, his fingers brushing mine, then closing around them. The warmth of his touch sent a shiver through me. But it wasn't just physical, it was grounding. Like I'd been floating for years and suddenly found solid ground. We sat there, hand in hand, in the middle of the library where anyone could see. And for once, I didn't care. That night didn't end in some cinematic kiss. It ended with quiet, with the two of us walking side by side through the cold campus air. Not touching, not speaking much, but carrying something fragile and new between us. The weeks after were complicated. There were moments of doubt, of pulling away, of questioning what we were doing. But there were also moments of clarity, like the time he stayed up all night helping me fix a paper draft. Not because it was his job, but because he believed in me. Or the afternoon we sat on the campus lawn, laughing about nothing. And I realized I hadn't felt that light in years. We kept it private, hidden from the world. But in those hidden spaces, I found pieces of myself I'd buried long ago. With Ethan, I wasn't just the quiet student, the boy too afraid to swipe right. I was seen. I was wanted. The semester ended faster than I expected. On the last day, as grades were finalized and students celebrated, I found Ethan in the empty seminar room. The desks were cleared, sunlight pouring through the windows like a farewell. So, I said awkwardly, clutching my notebook, I guess this is it. He leaned against the desk, arms folded, watching me with that same steady gaze that had undone me from the start. Doesn't have to be. I looked at him, my chest tight. What happens now? He stepped closer, closing the space between us. Now, you stop running. And maybe, you let me take you to dinner. I laughed, a shaky, nervous sound. But the joy underneath it was real. Is that your way of asking me out? His grin softened into something tender. It's my way of asking for a second chance. One you didn't give me before. This time, I didn't hesitate. I nodded. Yes. When he kissed Mephinally, undeniably it wasn't fireworks or movie magic. It was something quieter, deeper. It was the release of months of tension. The answer to every question I'd been too afraid to ask. And as his hand rested at the back of my neck, steady and sure, I realized something I should have known all along. Sometimes the wrong swipe doesn't close a door. Sometimes, it just delays the right beginning. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Because whatever it was, I knew I wouldn't be facing it alone. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.